Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Monday, April 7, 2025 at 3 p.m. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are present. County Manager, Finance Officer, and we're expecting Mr. Attorney at any moment. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. I would ask you to check your mobile devices, be sure they're on silent, and remind all speakers as you come to the podium today to please be sure the microphone is on. Should be the button on the right whenever you come to speak, so we get a good recording and everybody can hear you. This brings us to item number 2, approval of agenda. Gentlemen, I would like to ask that we move consent item number 4 up to presentation, as we do hope to have some line folks here to recognize at our regular meeting. And with that change, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, this brings us to item number 3, presentations. First item comes from Lake James Litter Cleanup Report. This will be presented by Howard Morgan at our regular meeting. Anybody here for that today, Madam Clerk? This item will be a placeholder. If there are no objections, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 2 comes from the Board of Commissioners, proclamation for celebrating Betty Chandler on her 100th birthday. And we look forward to doing that at our regular meeting. Nothing else to do there today, Madam Clerk. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 3, SFNR report on building expansion and purchase of fire truck. This will be from Salem Fire and Rescue, Chief Autry. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Again, I'm Chief Charles Autry from Salem Fire and Rescue. We're here today to request an increase in our tax rate from 0.0716 to 0.1. Y'all should have a packet of information. If you'll look at this chart, please, everyone should have a copy of it. Historically, Salem has had the lowest fire tax rate in the county. We did increase it a few years ago to 0.1. At that time, our president of the board of directors made a promise that if there was a substantial reevaluation, which of course there was, that we would go revenue neutral at the next year, and that's exactly what we did. If I'm not mistaken, we were the only fire department to do that, to go completely revenue neutral and request a reduction in our tax rate. At this time, though, we're requesting that it be raised back to 0.1. Our board has met, and they voted unanimously to request this increase. But if you'll look at the chart, you'll see that there are several districts that actually have tax rates nearly twice what ours is. You can see how far below average our tax rate is. Even the tax rate we're requesting will still be below the average of 0.106. Despite our historically low rates, our financial plan has always been to save money for the future. Unfortunately, we've seen that our savings do not keep up with either inflation or rising operating cost. In a period of just over 10 years, Salem had saved nearly $1.5 million to build a new fire station, which we moved into over the summer. Unfortunately, during the same period of time, building costs had doubled from just under $2 million to right at $4 million. The majority of the money we saved has already been spent directly on the cost of the new station, about a $1 million cash contribution to that. The remainder of the money we saved is currently in a CD. It's $545,000. That's a significant amount of money that we have left, but we do have plans for it, as I was explaining to the county manager. From this, we are planning to pay $351,000 to Civic Federal Credit Union as our mortgage finalizes at the end of April. And then we will begin making our mortgage payments of over $16,000 per month. The remainder of the money in the CD will be put towards a down payment on a new fire engine we have ordered. The cost of that fire engine is $943,000. There was up to a 3-year wait time for it to be completed and delivered when we ordered it. I now have confirmation that it will arrive in August 2026, which works well because it'll be replacing an engine that is now 30 years old. We are required in the purchase contract to have financing in place for this engine by the end of 2025. We estimate payments on this new fire engine will be around $12,000 per month. This is the primary reason we are asking for this rate increase today. Another reason for this request is that our call volume and operating expenses continue to increase. If you'll look at this chart, please, graph, you can see that over the last 12 years, our fire calls have went up from 95 in 2013 to 231 in 2024. That's a 143% increase. That's not a 43% increase. That's a 143% increase in our fire call responses. We've also seen an increase in medical calls, and then our total call volume has increased 56%. Interestingly, you'll probably have a question about this divot in 2020. That was due to COVID-19 when the fire department was not being dispatched on first responder calls dealing with patients who were possibly COVID positive. So that's the reason for the divot, but you can see the definite upward trend on all of our calls. Due to this increase in call volume, our fuel cost and vehicle maintenance costs have increased as well. In the last year alone, our vehicle maintenance and repair costs have nearly tripled, from $12,000 in fiscal year 23-24 to $35,000 fiscal year 24-25. With inflation, these costs will continue to rise. Our number of fire calls are obviously continuing to rise as well. We actually responded to 105 total calls in March. So I'm hoping that doesn't hold true for the year, because multiplying that number by 12 would be a substantial increase again. We're very happy with our new building, but we have found that despite its energy efficiencies, total utility costs in the building are also higher. Electricity, natural gas, security and fire alarm monitoring. Most of that just due to the increased spatial volume of the building. Since moving into our new station, we've opened it to the community and plan to continue to do so. We're partnering with both Salem and Mole elementary schools to run all sorts of events at our station for them. We're also running our first ever Future Firefighter Day Camp for kids in July. We're hosting countywide emergency services training through Western Piedmont on a monthly basis. We've also expressed an interest to Burke County EMS and the county manager in housing an ambulance or QRV at our fire station. This would be a benefit, obviously, to Salem, but also to that entire end of the county, decreasing EMS response times. We've also opened our stations to Burke County Sheriff's Office deputies, giving them the door codes. They can come and go as they please. We encourage them to use our station to take a break, work on reports, or do anything else they need to do. So we currently have a duty officer that covers our station 8 hours a day on weekdays on a rotating basis. It's not a full-time job. It doesn't have benefits. It doesn't pay overtime. These are firefighters that cover the station on their days off from their regular jobs. Most of them work full-time either for Morgan Public Safety as firefighters or for other fire departments or for Burke EMS as paramedics. As part of our 5-year plan, we are looking into the possibility of providing 24/7 coverage at Salem Fire Rescue. Several other departments have started doing this. It has greatly cut their response times. We would like to do the same. It is expensive though. We estimate that this will quadruple our costs for duty officers to cover the station. In the last year, we've also responded to an ever-increasing number of out-of-district emergencies, assisting other departments. I'm sure all of you remember our response to the wildfires on Burkemont Mountain last year. This area is not even in our fire district. In fact, it's not in a fire district at all. It is technically an unprotected district, and the residents there get no discount at all on their fire insurance if they're even able to get it. Our department receives no income from responding to this area, yet we do so not only for fires, but also for medical calls, because it's the right thing to do. We would be interested in incorporating this area into our district in the future, but doing so would be challenging and present expenses that would have to be met as well. All of these things take money. We have been very good stewards of tax money, and we will continue to be good stewards, but we need your help now to increase our tax rate to a level that's closer to the county average. I've also got one other chart that I included, and showing that we're very well aware of the effect this would have on both individuals and the department as well. At the top, we've got the benefit this would be directly to the department, increasing our annual revenue by almost $170,000. And also what that would mean for taxpayers depending on their net property valuation. And we've given examples for $100,000, $200,000, up to $500,000 of property valuation and what that would mean. At $500,000 of property valuation, this would be an increase of $142 per year for a taxpayer with that much property. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Autry on this item?
Chief, what are you using the old building for?
The old building was demolished. Yes, sir.
Let me ask something. On the new, thanks for all your service. I appreciate you guys. From what the county manager was saying, it looks like you guys have done a great job on saving taxpayers' money and then bringing this back up. But I think we were talking about several different things. Is there a possible way to wait for a revow or like certified pre-owned fire trucks and stuff like that? I know that sounds crazy. When I bought my 2016 Lexus, everybody thought I was booming the money. Said it's just an 8-year-old car, but it drives like a brand new one. Is those possibilities and stuff like that?
No, and we have already signed the contract for the new engine. So there are standards for fire engines. A primary response engine should be no more than 30 years old, and that's why this engine is being replaced. In fact, we have 4 engines currently, engine 1, engine 2, engine 4, and engine 6. This truck will be engine 3. It will replace engine 6, which we will still keep in service as a backup or reserve engine. We're not going to get rid of it, but this will give us a new engine. And in all honesty, as soon as we pay this truck off, we're going to have to order another one. So we've got 4 engines. If they have to be replaced on a 30-year timetable, we need to start replacing an engine every 7.5 years. And in the past, we've not done that. And it's something that we clearly need to do and forecast ahead and be able to get a new engine every 7.5 years to replace them as they hit the 30-year mark.
One more. I'd like to final up on that too. You guys know me. I'm one that wants to have everything to have the best. I want us to have the best fire engines and the best equipment, all those things. I know it's a money thing. That being said, can we not, that's not what I want to say. I'll pass for now. I don't want to cause no confusion.
Okay.
Have you got a reserve engine now?
No, sir.
If you don't have one at all right now?
So we have 4 engines, a first out and second out engine at each of our 2 stations. We have the primary station on Salem Road. Our substation is on 18 South. Our district is shaped something like a bow tie, this side and that side very much, with a very narrow connection in the middle across Pete Britton Road and Old Colony Road. So there's a first out and second out engine at each of those stations. The second out engine at each of those stations is normally used as well to respond to mutual aid requests on each side of the district. So for example, if Brindletown had a fire, we would be taking our second out engine from station 1 If George Hildebrand had a fire, we'd be taking our second out engine from Station 2.
Okay, I know what it was now, I'm sorry. Do we normally sign contracts before we have monies in place, or is that protocol, or, you know, I'm the new guy, so you have to educate
What we
me.
could have done is not go revenue neutral, but we were hoping that we would be able to do this. And also, it's a 3-year build time on an engine, 3 years. So I don't think we could have put off replacing this engine and got a new engine in that 3 years.
Thank you, Chief Hall.
Yes, sir.
So in your annual community meeting, I'm assuming you ran all of this by them? And
We had a public comment session. It was held in March. We did advertise that in the News Herald. I've got the legal affidavit from them. We ran the meeting. There was very little attendance at it. Not a single person spoke out against it. And the board voted unanimously to request a tax increase.
This new engine, is it a Mercedes-Benz or a Toyota that you get?
No, sir. It is a good truck. All of our trucks are Pierce fire engines. They're well made. They will easily last 30 years plus. It is a nice engine. It is by no means a Cadillac. It doesn't have ridiculous bells and whistles on it, no pun intended. But we fully expect it will be functional for us. It's got a 1,000-gallon water tank, just like all of our others. It's got a 1,500 horsepower engine that will pump 1,500 gallons per minute of water.
Other questions for Chief Autry?
I was just curious, and thank you for what you guys do every day. I know it can be difficult.
Thank you.
It does seem quite expensive. I know that the cost of these fire engines are. Maybe you could follow up or email me something, kind of some specifications on that engine. I'm just curious. That just seems like so much money. And I don't know the details. I used to be a car guy, so I don't know anything about fire
Understand.
trucks. But I would be interested, just because when I looked on the internet, of course, I'm probably looking at the wrong thing. So, you know, maybe if I could get some specifications to just feel good about. I mean, it just seems like such a lot of money, you know, for a fire engine. I mean, I see one for $500,000 here, but again, it's probably not even. I might be comparing apples to oranges. So if you wouldn't mind.
I'd be happy to.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Also, Chief Autry, is there anything, just to throw this out there, what Brian was talking about, is there a way that all the fire departments can work together collectively? You know, I know everybody kind of stands alone, but I mean, we have more buying power if we were collectively, you know, if you know, all the different, you know, local fire stations that we have, you know, do work together? Do we work together as a team? You know, or is everybody separate? Or is that something we can maybe look at in the future? Or,
I don't see why we couldn't.
so we can have more buying power so every station can have the best? You know, if we mine 5 of them, you know.
So it's not uncommon at all for municipal fire departments to buy multiple trucks on the same spec, on the same order, and get a discount on them. That's not uncommon at all. City of Marion just bought 2 identical fire engines and received a discount on that, but then you're making payments on 2 fire engines instead of 1.
Yeah.
But fire engines have increased in price dramatically. It's, you know, just like the problem with having to wait 3 years for delivery. That was never a problem before, but it is now.
This is probably more of a question for the attorney and the manager than it is for anybody else, but piggybacking on Mr. Stroud, that would, if they all went, let's say 5 departments, George Hildebrand and 4 other ones went in together to do that, they would have to have some type of I guess what I'm saying is, in order to do that, would the county need more control over the fire departments than what we got? Because it doesn't look like we got a whole lot of control over the volunteer fire departments.
I mean, I think that we just made a bulk purchase of public safety radios, 6 months ago. We spent $1.6 or $7 million on radios, 230 something across the county, and that was EMS, law enforcement, volunteer fire. So there was just MOUs put in place in that situation to consolidate resources, and we saved 35% on the purchase. We bought $8,000 radios for $5,200, $5,300.
And we made a point of getting in on that, even though it wasn't necessarily the specific radio we wanted, because it would be such a cost saving.
And I no legal issue with that, Mr. Board Member, but I would just say I think it's just an issue with that company they're buying from. Sometimes they may sell them for cheaper if you buy more, but I don't know that that's necessarily a legal issue as much as just a business decision. I know that when it arises into perhaps something that could be illegal, obviously their insurance that they've got to have and the way that their offices affect the insurance rates as well. I don't know how that would play into it. Haven't seen that happen. May not be an issue at all. It's not something I don't know off the top of my head, but could obviously look into it if the board wishes.
And I will tell you, different departments have needs for different types of apparatus. In Salem, we're very fortunate to have a good hydrant system, water supply systems in almost all of our district. All of our trucks still carry 1,000 gallons of water, as opposed to the city of Morgan. Most of their engines are only carrying 300 gallons of water because they've got hydrants everywhere. So we're pretty good with hydrants, but we still carry 1,000 gallons to make sure that if there's, a hydrant quarter mile down the road, we can shuttle water back and forth, and it's a reasonable amount, and be able to fight the fire. Bigger trucks, bigger tanker trucks especially, are more commonly bought by more rural fire departments. People that are farther out do not have such good water systems. For example, Brindleton. They bought a huge tanker. It's a very different truck. It's mainly intended to carry water rather than serve as a pumper necessarily. But I think it's an interesting idea to have firefighters working together to spec trucks. That will take a lot of coordination and a lot of forecasting when trucks need to be replaced and how long it will take to get them, and getting on a cycle. But I do think that's doable. I previously served as president of the Burke County Firefighters Association, and we come together and work together on all kinds of things, both emergency scenes and larger long-term planning things. And I think that might be doable in the future with most fire departments. But I don't think that would be a bad idea at all.
Other questions for Mr. Autry? All right, thank you, Chief. Appreciate the information. Gentlemen, today I think what our manager needs in preparation for the budget is some direction on this item. We've heard the Chief's request. We can give this a little thought and come back, or we can make a decision. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I personally would probably like a little time. I mean, I was contacted by some residents in that community, and I don't know if some have reached out to the chief and met, or, of course, it was just a small group of folks, and so I'm not really sure who showed up to your community meeting, but I personally don't feel like I'm ready to take a vote on it myself.
Okay, any other comments on this item? This is an item that will ultimately go into our budget, so we'll need to provide the manager some guidance in a relatively reasonable amount of time.
I'd like a little more time to digest all of it too, Mr. Chairman.
All right, do I hear a motion to hold this item for further consideration and provide the manager input within the next few weeks? And
Could we move it to an item for decision for 2 weeks from today?
okay,
Absolutely.
that work? All right, do I hear a motion? We move this item to decision at our regular meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor signify by the uplifting hand. 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Chief.
All right, then item number 4 will be a lineman appreciation proclamation, and we'll move that from consent to item number 4 as we discussed in our agenda rearrangement. This brings us to item 4, scheduled public hearings. We have 2 this month. This will be coming from Community Development ZMA 2025-01 at 2907 NC 18 South, rezoning. This will be presented today by Alan Glines, our planning director. Afternoon, Alan.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Britton, Commissioners, members of the public. We have a request, as noted, it's a zoning map amendment. It's 2025-01. It's the first one of the year. Ryan Honeycutt, who owns a property at 2907 NC 18 South, would like to rezone his very small parcel. It's a .27 acre tract. He'd like to change that from residential 2 to general business. On the site, which we have an aerial here, you can see it highlighted. It's in that pocket of commercial uses down on NC 18. There's a Dollar General nearby. There's other businesses across the street. Now, this little business, over the years, has been many things. At a time or two, it was a restaurant. It was a secondhand shop. It's been retail. And he purchased it. He'd like to utilize it for a retail use eventually. He's doing some work cleaning it up, modernizing it, and that sort of thing. And so how was it left in a residential zone all those years? I'm not sure. We occasionally do find these properties that where they have been, used commercially all the time, but were missed in those early days of mapping and zoning and those sorts of things. So he'd like to make that right, and he is asking for your support through a public hearing to change that zoning to general business. Now, the planning board did review it on February 27th. No one spoke on the matter except the applicant, and the planning board felt that that was, they want to recommend support to you all, 7-0. Can I answer any questions for you? We probably have a few more maps there. Future land use map, if it is approved, we'll adjust the future land use map accordingly to be general business.
All right, thank you, Alan. Any questions for Alan on this matter? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 2, Community Development ZMA 2025-02, Ashton Drive rezoning and public hearings. This also be presented by Mr. Glines.
Thank you very much. Mickey and Debbie Evans are seeking to rezone a 1.15 acre parcel from residential 2 to general business. Now, they own and operate Evans Construction Company, which is on Raintree, and in that area, it's in the Eichard Township. This business has been there for since 1970. In fact, Mr. Evans' father, I think, started the company. This property was purchased about 3 or 4 years ago and is accessed from Aston Drive. And we've got the map there. It's a cleared site. It's zone R2. He'd like to change it to the neighboring tract, which is general business. And he would use it just to support his existing business, some storage, some other things on that site, trucks and other things. If a property like this is sort of adjusted through rezoning, he would have to put a buffer in around that entire site against the residentially zoned tracts that are neighboring. So he'd put in a 10-foot wide buffer strip of evergreens all on 3 sides to help blend that in and mitigate any impacts on the neighbors. So this map is it's the current zoning map. You'll see residential, and then those 2 uses nearby. The one in red is general business, and that is Evans Construction. The one in front was an industrial type use, currently vacant. The comprehensive plan does show that a very similar linkage with the current zoning, so its future land use shows that as a residential infill site. Now, over the years, Mr. Evans has been here a time or two to seek rezoning on this matter. He's been here at least twice. In both cases, that rezoning request was turned down by the board at different times. Now, somebody who owns property, they can bring something back and request support at a later date. And so he's doing that now. The planning board did review this matter. A neighbor, Ms. Swanson, came to that hearing, that meeting, and spoke against that change in zoning because she felt like it affected her neighboring use. And she's just to the left of that, right off of Eichard Road to his road. At the end, the planning board voted 6-1 to recommend denial of the request. Can I answer any questions for you on this one?
Any questions for Alan on this matter? Alan, is this the property that, I'm just trying to think back, where the user was bringing in asphalt and mounting up asphalt that they were removing from somewhere else? Is this the same property?
Yeah, that was an early complaint. Now, I've been out there several times. I've never seen mounds of debris or material from the road. Evans Construction is a road construction company. So typically when you haul heavy materials like that to build roadway or improve roadway, you're not storing it somewhere and moving it twice. You take it from the quarry or the plant to the site, so you have less over road and kind of hauling back and forth. So there's very small amounts of material has been used out there, and from my viewpoint, but I haven't seen the mounds that we have heard about.
Okay, so what's the complaint from the neighbor? Was it the fact that they were already using this, property as business? And
Yeah, I think she's continued that complaint, and at times it's dusty because there's trucks moving in and out or through the site. Now, as you can see from that aerial, you can drive in on Aston and circle back around, and so they've been using that road just to access that track, even at the back of their currently used Evans Construction, which is, we have no comment about that in our zoning ordinance for that kind of use. But like I said, I've never seen the large piles of debris. And this is what, in our zoning ordinance, why we have buffers required between residential uses and a commercial use coming in, is to try to mitigate any impact. So there would be a full planting of shrubs. Some of them are there now on that back side. It's not complete, but it would have to be complete if this was approved.
Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir.
Why was it overwhelmingly denied 6-1? What was?
I feel like they weren't sure that there would be enough buffering for that neighbor and who had complained. I think that was their concern.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you point out the piece of property that we're talking about, that question that?
I forgot to get the pointer. I apologize, but it's this one here. This is the track, and that's Ashton Drive. That's the access in. So it's the neighbor on the west side of that track.
Other questions of Alan? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the decision for public hearings. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
All right, this brings us to item number 5, consent agenda. First item is 911 National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. This week presented by Heather Joyner. Good afternoon, Heather.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to bring this proclamation before you in recognition of the dedicated service of our public safety telecommunicators here in Burke County for Burke County Emergency Communications Center. For those that may not be aware, to become a telecommunicator in the state of North Carolina, an individual has to be a minimum of 18 years of age. They have to have a high school diploma or GED. They have to have good oral written communication skills, have minimum typing skills, and a clean criminal background check and some other things. So when an individual is onboarded as a telecommunicator here in Burke County, they have 12 to 18 months that takes for them to get their initial certifications and all the required hours in for being an independent telecommunicator. So once they get that certification, between 2,100 and 3,100 hours, every year they have to complete an hour to 100 to 120 hours per year to maintain certifications that they uphold. And so before I read the proclamation and go before request of this, for 2024 calendar year, our telecommunicators here in Burke County answered over 178,000 calls for service. And this includes police, fire, medical, and all calls that, you know, when people don't know who to call, they may call 911 seeking guidance and support. We had an unprecedented year last year. Of course, we had Hurricane Helene that brought forth a lot of calls, you know, to the 911 call center, on top of many search and rescues, and recently all the wildfires that we've been dealing with from last year to this year. So National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week is typically recognized the second full week in April, and this is the proclamation declaring April 13th through the 19th of 2025 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. May I read the proclamation? Is that okay? All right. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have established the second full week of April as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week to honor the vital contributions of emergency telecommunicators across the country. And whereas National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week was first established in 1981 and has been nationally recognized since 1994, serving as an opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate the essential role of emergency communication professionals. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, and our fire marshal and emergency management are critical in the protection of life and preservation of property, and public safety telecommunicators serve as that single vital link between the first responders and persons seeking immediate assistance during an emergency. And whereas these dedicated professionals handle millions of emergency calls each year, ensuring that the appropriate emergency response services are dispatched swiftly and accurately. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the unseen first responders, providing life-saving assistance and vital information to those in distress, often making the difference between life and death. And whereas each dispatcher or telecommunicator exhibits compassion, understanding, and professionalism in their duties, working tirelessly to ensure public safety, protect communities, and support first responders. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Burke County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of April 13th through the 19th, 2025 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and encourage all residents to express their appreciation for the dedication, diligence, and professionalism of our public safety telecommunicators who work tirelessly to keep our communities safe. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, thank you, Heather. And gentlemen, any questions for Heather on this proclamation? Well, we certainly appreciate all the effort and work that our 911 telecommunication center does every day, and 24/7 all the time, never stops. And we certainly understand that, appreciate what you do. We're happy to add this to our agenda.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 2 comes from Animal Services Foundation, proclamation declaring April 2025 as Cruelty to Animals Prevention Month. This will be presented by our clerk, Kay Drone. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. This is a request to declare April 2025 as Cruelty to Animals Prevention Month. There is a strong correlation between animal cruelty and broader social issues such as poverty, domestic violence, mental health challenges, and addressing animal abuse can contribute to a more compassionate and safer society for both people and animals.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, any questions concerning this proclamation? If not, seeing here none, we're happy to add this also to our consent agenda. This item will remain without objection. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 3 comes from the Board of Commissioners proclamation, Litter Sweep proclamation. Gentlemen, you've had this proclamation in front of you in reference to our litter sweep. A number of our businesses, organizations, and other agencies will be working throughout the month to pick up litter and bring that to our attention. Any questions concerning this proclamation? All right, seeing here none, we're always happy to pick up trash and those kind of things and to keep our county looking good as absolutely as best we can. And without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. All right, item number 4, we have moved to presentations. Item number 5, Board of Commissioners 2025 Rules of Procedure revisions. Gentlemen, I hope you've had time to take a look at these. These are mostly to align with a few grammatical changes and to align with the recent changes we made in some of our meeting dates and times, and also with our DSS and health scheduling and those matters. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 6 comes from the clerk, reappointments to the America 250 North Carolina Committee. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Let me just get my computer there. This is a request to remove Dr. Patricia Wells from the roster and thank her for her service. She is her term as the regent for the Quaker Meadows chapter of the NSDARNs, and we are anticipating an application from the new regent, Miss Dr. Sylvia Medford. It's a request to reappoint Commissioner Smith as our county commissioner representative for a 1-year term ending December 15th, 2025, and we'll add that to our list of appointments we do in December. It's a request to reappoint Dr. Linda Lindsay for seat number 4, Revolutionary War Days, Ed Phillips, seat number 7, representing the TDA, and Dr. Joel Welsh, seat number 13, representing the college, for 3-year terms ending April 15th, 2028. And as I mentioned earlier, to appoint Dr. Medford to replace Dr. Patricia Wells.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, any questions on this item? Seeing here none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 8 comes from the county manager, approval of budget amendment number 11. I'm sorry, let me back up to number 7 to get my check marks ahead of myself. I'm trying to get them checked off here. Also coming from the clerk, appointments to JCPC, seat number 4 and 19. That's why I got you sitting closer to me, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request to remove Allie Mashburn's name from the roster and appoint Kaylee Wallenhaus to seat number 4 to represent the district attorney's office to complete the remainder of her term ending June 30th, 2026, and to appoint Wes Hassan from our Parks and Recreation Department to seat number 19 on the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council representing Parks and Recreation.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 8 now from the county manager, approval of budget amendment number 11. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chairman, several following, and I'll work through one at a time if that's okay with the board, but as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, some budget tidiness, mainly recognizing some state grants. So we'll, as customary, see a higher volume of budget amendments over the next couple of board meetings. Item number 8 is a state grant from, and this is annual state aid library funds, $13,329, and the request is to budget that for the acquisition of ebooks. It'll be folded into our typical operational budget. Happy to answer any questions on that one, sir.
Any questions on this item? Seeing here none, item number 8 will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 9, approval of budget amendment number 12, $10,928. Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. So 2 funding sources here. We got a state grant for $5,000, and then we have private donations, and the $5,000 was applied to to support our community block grant for Meals on Wheels, specifically shelf-stable meals following Hurricane Helene in our senior center. There's also an amount here, $5,928, that is private contributions for the 40th anniversary celebration for our senior center. And as you can see, that's split between food and program supplies, again, to support both Meals on Wheels and then that celebration.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? Seeing and hearing none, item number 9 will remain on consent agenda. Item number 10, board budget amendment number 13.
This is a request to budget a payment that will be that has already been sent to the North Carolina Department of Commerce. This is an economic development agreement the board's aware of, where a private citizen, Zero Delta, who has an existing economic development agreement, is reimbursing the county for dollars that have to be paid back to the Department of Commerce, so they're just flow through the county for not meeting the full deliverable for a building reuse grant as far as job creation. So the total amount we paid back is $150,000, and that's payable in these every 6 months allotments of roughly $25,000. We've received this. We're asking the budget so that it can, again, just flow through our budget to the state.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? Seeing and hearing none, item number 10 will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 11, approval of budget amendment number 14.
Budget Amendment 14 is another state grant. We call this STRAP grant. It's Stream Bank Remediation Restoration. This flows through our Soil and Water Department. This is following, it's $162,800 of state grants. That's what we're asking to budget. All of these dollars will be paid out to private, typically local, not always contractors. And the focus, the area for deployment of this grant will be in the Silver Creek area. So it's remediating stream banks, getting materials out of the creeks. And this is not part of the FEMA public assistance waterway cleanup. These STRAP grants periodically come and are used for largely like cattle and those things that are beating up stream banks. But the request is to budget the revenue state grant, and then Soil and Water will administer the funds for remediation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? All right, seeing and hearing none, without objection, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 12, budget amendment number 15.
So budget amendment number 15 is to do two things. One is we are closing Fund 181. 181 was the multi-year special revenue fund that the county used to account for the American Recovery dollars, roughly $17 million. There's approximately $1 million left in that allocation that needs to be moved to our long-term capital reserve. As a reminder, that's what's funding our courthouse, animal services, and EMS capital improvements. There's also an amount of $321,926 that is from the it's local area tribal assistance fund. So certain counties and communities in North Carolina are identified by the federal government and get these dollars that can be used for any governmental purpose, primarily because of just our geographic location, and that is also being allocated to that capital reserve plan per our CIP plan that you guys have seen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Brings us to item number 13, approval of budget amendment number 16. Mr. Manager.
Well, I'm wondering, so budget amendment number 16 is a Western Piedmont one. Yeah, okay, so I've got my numbers up, I apologize. In 2023, when I first came to Burke County to do our budget, there was tremendous volatility in the capital allocation to Western Piedmont Community College. 1 year it would be really high, 1 year it'd be very low, and that made predictability and long-term budgeting very difficult. So we created a long-term capital reserve where there's an annual allocation of $425,000 that would be earmarked. The community college would have to come present said project to the Board of Commissioners to request drawdown. But the first 2 years, this $850,000 is just setting up that capital reserve. It's been housed in the county's capital reserve, so this is setting up their own independent fund so that those monies would not be, so they would be separate and isolated in their own, by themselves. But no additional appropriation, Mr. Chairman. We're just moving from general capital to an exclusive kind of fund so that, and we're in year 2 of a 5-year commitment. I think the year before I came, there was over $1 million allocation, and then the year before that, it was 0. And again, it was very difficult to plan and predict. So we did some benchmarking and affordability analysis and felt like 425 was the appropriate allocation. This is taking year 1 and year 2 and just moving it to its own location.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 14, approval of budget amendment number 17. Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. This is preparing for our FEMA Public Assistance application. So this is all of the various categories that we've created or we've accounted for our FEMA reimbursement. You can see storm debris removal, which is category A, as well as the monitoring at 6.5 and the 1.5 total, the $8 million. The $575,000 are the 214s and 215s. As we were working through the storm, from an administrative perspective, we were responsible for looking at keeping up with all of our staff time that we could largely file for reimbursement for. That would be category B, along with some other miscellaneous general administration time there. And you can see, I'm looking at the expenses side. We had a little bit of a tower repair on Dobson's Knob, and some general admin expense, which is category Z. But ultimately, the budget amendment is so that we can begin to budget for final submission of our FEMA Public Assistance application, and then be positioned to be reimbursed from the federal government.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Brings us to item number 15, approval of budget amendment number 18. Mr. Manager.
As the board's aware, Burke County uses a tourism development authority to account for occupancy tax revenue and to do the general travel tourism administration for Burke County. These dollars are collected statutorily at a 6% rate by our hospitality hotel partners. That then comes to the county. We have a budgeted amount that we pay to them. This is the overage this year. Our occupancy rates have been very high, so we've over collected what we anticipated. All of this will pass through to the TDA, but because of the activity and the number of rooms and nights that have been sold, we need to increase our estimated allocation to the TDA.
All right, Mr. Manager, I would presume perhaps that some of that was due to a lot of activity during Hurricane Helene. Will that impact those estimates or going forward? Or?
Well, I think that we have reasonable data to predict between now and June 30th. So we've kind of trended out where we are to what we think it's going to be. I think our original budget was somewhere around $850,000, $900,000, and we think the 550 will get us between now and June 30th. Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure I'm asking the right question.
Okay.
I just know that lots of utility folks spent lots of money in.
Yes, sir. Which is why this happened. Yes,
that won't be coming over again.
Yes, that's right. Yes, we have not duplicated or counted. We've seen, even though you would think following, now that we're 180 days beyond the storm, there would be a leveling out. But there's still a tremendous amount of storm generated. I mean, there was at one point 200 families in hotel rooms from an individual assistance component. So that drove some of the overage. No doubt about it. I think in a normal year, our budget estimate would have been pretty close. But because of the storm, we've consumed it all just in a shorter period of time. And so when we trend that out, we think the 550 will get us from the original budget to what we will fully pay out between now and the end of the year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other questions, thoughts on this item? All right. Item number 16, approval of budget amendment number 19, Mr. Manager.
So this is a request to budget $25,000 as part of the new fire station for Salem Volunteer Fire. They applied for an NCDOT, it's a driveway grant, but it's where their access to their department connects with the road, and they're eligible for a $25,000 grant that's been awarded. It has to flow through the county, so we're asking to budget that, and then we would pay it out to the fire department.
All right, any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 17.
Budget amendment number 20, this is a grant from the ASCPA, which is an animal welfare organization, national organization. The 24 counties that were impacted by Hurricane Helene received some funding. Burke County's allocation was $60,000. Again, this largely was absorbed by our original operating budget, but you can see the allocation that we're asking the board to consider allowing us to budget this for. So we have $23,500 to medical services, some to M&R vehicles, drugs, and then program supplies. But that, again, is request to budget this federal, it's a nonprofit agency that at a national level that I think was redistributing federal dollars, but the grant to our county for these purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 18, budget amendment number 21, Mr. Manager.
Madam Clerk mentioned reappointments to our American 250 committee. That committee has also applied for and received a grant in the amount of $30,000, and we're requesting the approval of that, and those funds will largely be used for that committee to do their planning, marketing materials, and those type things.
All right, any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Number 19, amendment number 22.
Finally, for consideration, I appreciate all of your patience very, very much. As the board's aware, in two budgets ago, 2022, 2023, Burke County received a $3.25 million grant from the General Assembly as a direct appropriation to help facilitate an opioid rehabilitation center. Legislatively, the approvals already happened to allow the county to pass those dollars to redirect them to Partners Behavioral Health, and we talked about that at your February 14th working session. This is the budget component to allow us to see the outflow of those funds, and let the General Assembly has given us permission to send them directly to Partners. But unlike most grants, when it's a directed grant from the General Assembly, 2 years ago, they sent this cash directly to Burke County, so it's been held here. And this is the budget amendment that would allow us to make that payment out to Partners, our LME MCO.
All right, any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 20, Duke approval of the utility easement at Drone High School. This will be presented by Wendy McCrane with real estate representative. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Wendy McCrane. I am Oversight Land Agent for Duke Energy. Also here with me is Colby Landrum, the engineer for the project, and Stacy Watkins, Land Agent for the job. We are here today to request approval and signature on an easement giving us permission to install our facilities from an existing pad mount transformer located on Drone High School, Burke County property, to serve our customer Natural Land Alliance. If you have any questions for me, and if you have any specific questions on the design, the engineer will be able to answer any of those questions.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, any question on this item? I think, Mr. Manager, the school has reviewed this, everything's good.
As well as their legal counsel, yes, sir.
I seem to have gotten another request for a second easement. Was that
I believe
correct?
that's from the Board of, the property that's in between the school property. There's a little strip of land, I think, owned by the Board of Education, is that correct? Yes, to get to the Natural Land Alliance to our customer.
So are we going to need to take action on a second easement? I guess
Yes.
is my question.
Yes.
Is that covered with this, or are we going to need another document?
I presume that's a separate issue. That is, my understanding is this one's by itself. You may know something different.
Yeah, I think that one was caught at the last minute on Friday, that we didn't realize that strip of land was right there that we were crossing. But that is an easement that does need to be signed for this job.
Okay, can we act, Mr. Attorney, on that easement as well, knowing what we know or not?
I don't know what you know or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I would request is you leave it for your regular meeting so we can take a look at it. That's
Okay, that's probably a good idea. Madam Clerk, I think I sent that to you, and I know the school perhaps needed to look at that, so,
Right, and they meet tomorrow night.
okay, so maybe they can get that resolved, and we'll, do we need to pull that off this consent agenda and rehear it, or?
It'd probably be best just to move it to decision items.
All right, let's do that just for good measure, okay. We'll do that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comment from you guys that we need to hear? Are we all on the same page, right? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 21, proclamation declaring May the 1st, 2025 as National Day of Prayer. This will come from our county manager, Mr. Manager.
Sir, just something that's rich in our tradition and culture is passing this proclamation, asking the Board of Commissioners to designate May 1st as National Day of Prayer. And I think we'll have the chambers open that day for anyone who wants to come by and pray. But that is the asking for consideration of the county commissioners.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question, comment on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 22 comes from Finance, lease for adult corrections. This comes from Margaret Pierce, our Finance Director. Ms. Margaret.
Thank you. This is a renewal of the lease for the adult corrections, which is in the annex section of the courthouse near where Register of Deeds office is. This is required space. We are required to provide space for adult corrections. We're doing a 1-month lease as we look at all of our properties and all of our spacing to evaluate best use and how this works for them. They are comfortable with the lease, and it was provided by the state.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 3 comes from the Fire Marshal's Office, request for approval of written agreement between Home Trust Bank and Longtown Volunteer Fire Department. Mr. Bishop, Fire Marshal will present this item.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this approval request for the building expansion between the by Longtown Fire Department, between Home Trust Bank. We're going to have a 1,200 square foot expansion of the building. They do have a fire department member here for any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Robert. Any question on this item? Only question I had, seemed like an awfully expensive per square foot building. Is there anything special about this? Can you give us any?
She's shaking her head no, so I'm assuming no.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments on this item? All right. Hearing none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 24, proclamation designating April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month, presented by Amy Kincaid, a District Administrator, Guardian Ad Litem. Good afternoon, Amy.
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm asking a proclamation.
There you go.
All right. Good afternoon. Yes, I'm asking that a proclamation for April 2025 be granted as Child Abuse Prevention Month. With our increase of child abuse cases here in Burke County, I would ask that this month be set aside to just bring awareness of child abuse. Would you like me to read the proclamation? All right.
Not unless you just want to. That'll be fine. Any questions on this item? All right, Amy, thank you for being here. Seeing here none, this item will remain on our consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're happy to approve the proclamation. Item number 25 comes from the Health Department, National Public Health Week proclamation. This will come from Miranda Smith, our public health educator. Afternoon, Miranda.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. This proclamation is named this week, April 7th through the 11th, as National Public Health Week. It's in recognition of the important work that our coworkers do and our team at Burke County Public Health, from our environmental health team, our WIC, Women, Infant, and Children Office, as well as our clinic nurses. The theme for this week is It Starts Here, and the work does start here for us every day we go into the office. It starts here for our community and our home.
All right, thank you, Miranda. Any question on this item? All right, we do appreciate the work that you guys do every day. And without objection, this item will remain on consent agenda. Item number 26 comes from our tax department. This will be the release refund report for March 2025. And Mr. John Bridges, our tax administrator, will present that. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The month of March, tax system refunds and releases, total report was $6,223.51. Of that, $3,042.65 was rebilled, with a net release of $3,180.86, and there were no refunds in that. For the motor vehicles, adjustments or refund amount over $100 was $540.60. Any questions?
All right, thank you, John. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 27, Tax Department Tax Collection Report.
For the month of March, from July 1 of 2024 through March 31st of 2025, property tax collected year-to-date is $53,548,941.77. That is 97.43% of the budget amount, leaving a balance to collect of $1,244,237.23. Motor vehicle taxes, we have collected year-to-date $4,296,572.26. That is 86.64% of the budget amount, with a balance to collect of $779,671.74. Current year taxes, we have collected year-to-date $57,845,544.03. That is 96.62% of the budget amount, with a balance to collect of $2,023,908.97. Delinquent taxes year-to-date, we have collected $500,201.73. That is 71.46% of the budget amount, with a balance to collect of $199,798.27. Penalty and interest year-to-date, we have collected $318,931.22. That is 96.94% of the budget amount, with a balance to collect of $10,068.78. The overall levy, property tax levy is $55,264,117.08. Amount collected year-to-date is $53,548,941.77. That is 96.6% of the budget amount, with a balance to collect of $1,715,175.31.
All right, thank you, John. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 28, order to advertise 2024 delinquent real property taxes. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The balance to collect that needs to be advertised is for property tax, $1,715,175.31. And the figures there are the same figures I just read a minute ago. If you want me to read those, I will.
No, sir. That'll be fine. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on consent agenda. Thank you, John.
Thanks, sir.
All right, gentlemen, this brings us to item number 6. Are we okay? Anybody need a break? Everybody okay? All right, carrying on. First item on items for decision, Madam Clerk, appointment to the Burke County Library Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mark Patrick of Morganton has resigned, and this is a request to remove his name from the roster. We have, at this time, 2 applicants for your consideration, Janice Gravely or Locke Hoffman. Ms. Gravely is a Morganton resident, and Mr. Hoffman is a resident of Conley Springs. Obviously, if there are any more applications that come in prior to your regular meeting, we will include them in the packet and make you aware of that at the regular meeting.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Without objection, this item will remain on the items for decision. Item number 2 comes from General Services, award contract for water meter purchase and installation. This is the placeholder. Mr. Delahunt will give us a little information maybe.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. On March 18th, 4 bids were received for the purchase of 2,240 water meters. And then on April 4th, which was just last Friday, we received 8 bids for installation of those same meters. And although the bids for installation are still being reviewed, we do not anticipate any issues. The combined total of both is just over $750,000, and this is well below the amount approved for this project. And at your next meeting, I'll provide more detailed information about not only the product, but the project as well.
All right, thank you, Mark. Any questions to Mark on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the decision agenda. Item number 3 comes from Finance, policy updates for ARPA compliance. This is presented by Ms. Margaret also.
During a recent desk audit, there was some different policies they wanted to review in more detail and may ask us to do some revisions to fully meet ARPA guidelines. We do not have those drafted at this time because we're in conversation with the Department of Water Quality employee and making sure we bring you the appropriate information. We will get that to you in time before the meeting to review if there in fact are any we need to amend.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Any question on this item? I'm sure they'll be very cooperative, Ms. Margaret.
We hope.
Okay. This item will remain on the decision agenda. Okay, this brings us to item number 7, reports and comments for today. DSS monthly operational report be presented by Corey Fisher-Wellman, our DSS director, and looks like Amanda. Afternoon.
How are y'all?
Good.
Have a clicker. All right, so we're going to walk you through our 2024 annual report. So just, this first slide is really just some interesting facts about DSS. So during the course of 2024, we issued 446 fishing licenses, and we registered 252 people to vote, along with generating 11,000 Medicaid transportation trip referrals during the course of 2024. So Amanda's going to walk you through the economic service stuff, and then I'll go through the social work data.
Sure. Good afternoon. So just to give you kind of a brief description as what Medicaid is, Medicaid provides health care coverage for people with low income. Sometimes a lot of people think that Medicaid is just one big Medicaid program, but it's actually not. It's broke down into several different pieces of Medicaid. So these programs help children, pregnant women, adults, people who are blind, with disabilities, and because of Medicaid expansion, we were able to extend that to age 19 through 64. Based on eligibility, they may receive health care coverage. In '24, we did roughly 565 Medicaid applications per month. We do over 2,000 Medicaid recertifications every single month. It is a 75% reimbursement for Medicaid that the county gives us, and because of Medicaid expansion for the next 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, it's paid at 100%. So we do have an outpost position at the hospital that has been very, very helpful in reaching out to people who normally wouldn't be able to come into the office. We're taking care of the need right there in the hospital. We do have several audits that we go through, 6 major Medicaid audits, and they're listed here. Those, we've done an amazing job. We've had no eligibility errors. They've all just been internal, little nitpicky things that we need to fix in the file. But we have not had those in several years. But those results can be very costly and expensive, and they can result in paybacks to the county. The waivers for the COVID extension, they will end as of June 25. In Burke County, at the end of the year, we had over 28,538 participants in Burke County who received Medicaid. So that's 35% of the county. And out of those claims, $228 million. So there's a lot there in Medicaid. Any questions about Medicaid? Special assistance is another program that we offer. There's 2 types. Corey's going to go over the service side of special assistance, but what it does, it is a program that allows people who reside in licensed facilities a cash payment to, in addition to help them in those facilities. And then there's SAN Home, and it provides residents who are eligible for Medicaid with a monthly cash benefit to maintain and to continue living within their home. It's a 50% reimbursement rate on that. And they can have it to the bank of their choice. Some even have it linked to their EBT food stamp card. In Burke County, we had 250 participants for '24. Work First is a program that we also offer. It's an employment service program. It's actually for people who, or parents who need to just get some stability, to become self-sufficient. We work with these families to help them become employed, to go back to school, and they have 2 years on that program. It was called TANF. North Carolina took it over as Work First, and it does provide a monthly check. They work with a caseworker. It helps them to arrange transportation, find employment, daycare services, get into a GED program. It's a really great program. This program has taken a really big hit in the last few years. 5 years ago, there were probably 500 cases in Burke County. We're down to 66. I think I went too far. Child support is also another service at Social Services. We collected right at $4 million this year, or 24. We do outsource those through Veritas. They've done a fantastic job. We went from being 100 at the very bottom in the county and across the state to 56. So that's a really big improvement for Burke County. And we have roughly 2,340 cases at the end of the year. We are still responsible for child support, so just know that I still meet with Veritas executives and the state rep every single month, and the manager there, and we do go over the numbers and make sure that everything's on track. Child care, I love this program. It helps people become self-sufficient. It helps people be able to go to work. We were able to serve 561 children in Burke County this year, or in the '24. We have roughly 450 cases, and the total allocation is a fiscal year allocation, and you can see that number over there to the side. And I'll turn it over to Corey.
Thank you. So, during the calendar year of 2024, as you can see there, we had 236 children who experienced foster care at some point during that year. Sorry, let me get to it. I need to be here. In addition to that, so of those 236, over the course of the year, 38 children entered foster care and 58 children exited foster care to some type of permanence, whether that's they aged out, they were adopted, they were reunified, or someone was granted guardianship or custody of them. Also, during the year 2024, we helped complete 34 adoptions, so 34 children exited foster care through a permanent plan of adoption. This is just talking about Child Protective Services and kind of what our responsibilities are in terms of when someone makes a report and kind of how we work through those decisions. In terms of reports, during the calendar year of 2024, we received 1,526 reports. So those reports are screened through a very thorough screening process and a two-level decision-making between the worker and the supervisor to determine whether the report meets some sort of statutory definition of abuse, neglect, or dependence. So of those 1,500 reports, we screened in and investigated 994 of those reports. And then CPS in-home is kind of, I guess the easiest way to explain it, it's sort of in between investigations and foster care. So if a case comes in through investigations and we get to the point where it's possible to keep the children safe without bringing them into our custody, if we provide a little bit of additional care and support for the family, we can send that case to CPS in-home, and you can see during the year we served 55 families through CPS in-home services. In terms of adult protective services, we accepted 144 reports of either abuse, neglect, or the third thing in adult services. We accepted 144 reports for adult services during the calendar year. Exploitation, that's the third one in adult services. So 144 reports during the year. In addition to that, we served as the guardian for 66 wards. I think we've mentioned a couple of times in 2023, we contracted with Hope for the Future to provide guardianship services for some of our wards. So that's why you'll see a dip in the numbers from 2022 to 2024, because we have about 17 slots that we contract with Hope for the Future. So we work to keep those slots full, and then the county ourselves served as guardian for 16 wards last year. Adult home specialists are basically, we provide oversight for adult care homes, adult family care homes, and also an adult daycare program. So during the course of last year, we conducted 95 investigations and 18 routine visits of those facilities, and that's done mainly with 2 full-time employees who serve in that role. Amanda mentioned special assistance in-home from the financial side. This is the social work side. You can see during 2024, we served 104 individuals in that program, and you can also see that the number is the highest number we've served. Prior to last year, you could cap this service. So if you could say we're going to serve 85 people. When we get to 85, we're going to create a waiting list and not serve anymore until someone else goes off. But this program became an entitlement program. So as people come in, we have to serve them. That's why you'll see that the number went up, over the last year. There will eventually be a plateau, but you likely see the number go up a little bit, year over year for the next couple of years. And lastly is our Community Alternatives Program, which is another program designed to help keep people in their homes. This is one of the few programs at DSS that is not statutorily required. We provide this kind of voluntarily, but it's a money-making program for DSS. We generate revenue through our CAP program, which helps offset some of the costs in our other adult services programs. So we have 188 slots. And then you can see how those slots were filled over the course of the year. The state does manage the referral process, so we have the capacity to serve a few more, but we're at the mercy of kind of when they send us referrals. But we do try to keep those slots as full as we possibly can. And that's the end of our annual report for last year. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Corey. Any questions for Corey or Amanda on this report? All right, seeing here none, this report will be accepted as presented. Thank you, Corey. Amanda?
You guys.
We're going to vote.
Sure we can. All those in favor, signify by the uplifted hand. 4-0, Madam Clerk. All right. Item number 2 comes from our Health Department quarterly operational report for the Health Department. This will be presented by Danny Scalise, our Health Director. Afternoon, Danny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Okay, there it went. Thank you. So I will be brief because I know I'm the last thing you have before you get ready to go today. Just to give you a few highlights of what we've done in the last quarter. We have shown some progress on our community health assessment. It's something we do triennially. We also do it in conjunction with UNC Healthcare Blue Ridge because they are also required to do it. We will have it months ahead of time before it's due. In our clinic, we've roughly seen 1,200 patients that have come and had visits completed. Our WIC unit continues to have more than 100% participation that is required by the USDA for them. We've finished all that we've needed to do in terms of our accreditation documents, and we still have a strong presence within the state. To expand on those highlights a little bit, we submitted, and you will receive it shortly. We've just gotten approval from the state on the State of the County Health Department, County Health Report. We call it the SOCH. You guys will receive that here shortly, probably by your next meeting or so. You can see that we participate in a great deal of community events and have a monthly blog series that we do on key health topics that stays up for people to have if they want to read about it later on. So if they Google this or that in Burke County, it'll come up, and just basic information provided by some of the experts at the health department. The picture you see there is Ms. Smith that you saw and Ms. Simmons as they presented to the Valdez Rotary Club about NC Care 360, which is a statewide program that does referrals to things that are non-medical. And we have a staff relations committee that works on things that are about the health department, whether it's how we decorate this or when we're going to have a potluck. In environmental health, during that period, we had 75 septic and 12 well permits that were issued. We have reduced by approximately 50% the wait for on-site. So we are now, of the contiguous counties, one of the best that we have. We're about 4 weeks, and that's about as good as you're going to be able to get it. People still have to go through zoning and all the other processes before they. So from the time that it's requested to the time the permit is issued is about 4 weeks now. Food and lodging, I heard today we're now at 66%, so we are a little bit behind, but those new employees didn't come on until later in the fiscal year. So by next year, we'll have no problem meeting the 100% requirement. We did permit 10 new restaurants during the quarter, and that's a little, I won't say it's false, but if I own a restaurant and I sell it to Brian, that's a new restaurant permit that would go in there. So a lot of those were ones that had transferred over. Lake and Riddle was one of the news during this last quarter. She got her fully authorization. That is not our employees in a grave. That is one of the pits that's dug so that they can examine the soil, and that's Elizabeth that's down in there, and Lake and our two newest employees who are really, they just got out of school just about a year ago. So we're really proud to have them. In terms of our clinic, you heard me say roughly 1,160 clinical encounters across the 5 different service lines that we have. Our lab produced 1,657 tests, and that's kind of everything that could be COVID tests, which has now become a small minority. We've done a lot more flu tests here recently, but that's also sexually transmitted infections and any other tests that we would do there. Our key services are, of course, primary care, the women's health. We do our maternity and family planning clinics, and CD means communicable disease control. We do have a strong patient engagement in our service delivery. We're really proud of that. Wait times are almost nil when you come into the health department for any clinical services. Care management and WIC, our SIMHARP and CMARC programs. One is for young mothers, one is for the children, 0 to 5. Our caseloads continue to grow. They're eligible through Medicaid, and it's paid through Medicaid to us. We do have a lot of graduations, which means they've made it through the program. Most often they've aged out or they've gotten through all the steps they need to get to. Our WIC participation is excellent. We have one of the better WIC programs across the state. And to show that, we have about $418,000 in redemptions that were things that were purchased with USDA money here in Burke County. In terms of our leadership and our staff development, many of the staff members serve on not just local, but also regional and national boards. I was able to present at the National Addiction Summit back early in the quarter. We still have academic partnerships with a number of universities. I'm going to embarrass her a little bit today. The young lady that was sitting beside me is Emma Fullett. She is a third-year medical student at Campbell University who is doing a rotation through the health department, learning about the things that we do. The staff's also involved in leadership and training programs. We've had a number of our staff members who have gone through either state or regional leadership programs just in the last year. So we're very, very proud of them. From an administrative standpoint, you heard me say that we've submitted our last documentation in terms of our accreditation. We shouldn't have to worry about any accreditation programs for another 2 years, which I'm sure Miranda is satisfied to hear that. A couple of our employees did participate in the budget retreat. Vital records, we are still considered one of the best in the state. We're the third fastest as of right now. Graham County that has like 20 deaths a year. We really don't, they're first, but I think we're a little better than them in terms of our efficiency. They just don't have as much. And then of course we maintain strong financial stewardship. We manage the money very well. We do not go over budget. We don't come back and say we screwed this up, or we're very tight with the money that we are graciously received from the county. So it was pretty fast. Is there any questions I can answer for you all?
All right, thank you, Danny. Any questions for Danny on his report today?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. May I hear a motion to accept this report as presented?
I make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 4-0, Madam Clerk. All right. Other discussion items today. County offices will be closed April the 18th for Good Friday. Just remember that. Have no action items, and then we do have a need for a closed session today to discuss threatened or pending litigation, to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to discuss economic development matters, to discuss contractual matters, to discuss personnel matters. Anything else before we go to closed session?
I'd like to thank Chief Autry for coming in and presenting to us. That helps us make decisions, sir. I appreciate you.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3, 4, 5, and 6, and invite Alan Glines, our Deputy County Manager, Planning Director, and Robert Bishop, Fire Marshal, into the meeting with us.
I'll make the motion. I'm glad you said every bit of that.
All right, thank you very much. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand, 4-0. Boy, they didn't wait on us today, did they, Bill?
They sure did. Oh, yeah.
I think that belongs to somebody else. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had a motion to come out of closed session. We are returning to the open session in chambers and announce that a proper motion was made to come out of closed session. No action was taken by the board. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's 4-0, Madam Clerk. Almost. Do I need to drag him out here to see that? Get him out here and get his hand up, Phil.
Bust the tables down.
All in favor of adjournment, signify by the uplifted hand. Now it's 4-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much.
Well done.